In this video, I wanted to talk to you about visualization. Okay, before we get started, I am not a sports psychologist. I have no professional accreditations in that. However, I have spent a lot of time working with sports psychologists, and I've found that visualization has been really helped me with things like performance anxiety and really performing my best on the mats. And it's something I started using probably 10, 12 years ago, and I still use up to this day every time I compete. Okay, and I found it hugely beneficial. Before we get into like the nuts and bolts of why I started doing what it is and how it can help you, I just want to give you a kind of a very brief explanation of visualization. It's really just imagining a situation over and over again in your brain. That's it. That's all it is. Okay, it's nothing more complicated than that. Okay, and by doing that, it can help you overcome anxiety. It can help you perform better. So it's a really powerful tool for grapplers. The reason I got into it, as I alluded to, is because I used to get super nervous before competitions. I was kind of okay when like local competitions, but anytime I go to a big event, I would really struggle. I often lost in my first match. The Europeans was always my Achilles heel. Like every single time I went there, I would lose. And really, I decided to do something about it because it was a massive problem for me. I would always. It wouldn't even be that the people were better than me necessarily. It would be that I had beat myself before I got onto the mat. And I know that's very common for a lot of people. So I started looking around and I started working with sports psychologists, and they introduced me to this idea of visualization. Along with that, I also got a couple of like online programs as well. If I can find the links, I'll post them below this video. One was called The Fighter's Mind, I believe, really good program. And when I started to do that, the first time that I really employed all these techniques and spent a long time doing it and going through it, was the British Open in 2010. I was competing in the elite division, so it was like brown and black belts, very high level grapplers. Certainly in the UK, people like, I think I fought Luis Tosta, who was, he's very good, won the Europeans, won numerous events. Eduardo, can't remember his surname, but he was in that as well. It'll come back to me after I finish filming, I'm sure. But he, like really high level guys, certainly for a UK based thing. And I spent a ton of time like visualizing the event, all the feelings that I'd have, what would go through my mind beforehand, the techniques that I'd want to do, and the things that I'd learned. And it was a really strange experience because what happened was I got to the event and almost everything happened as I visualized it in my brain. From like the moment we slapped hands to like the techniques that I used to how I won the matches. And it was a crazy experience. And it taught me the power of visualization. It was really like, I'd been in that situation 100 times before. I'd gone through every unknown possibility, and I could just do what I, had trained to do, which was an awesome feeling. It was one of the best things that I've had, and it really was impactful in terms of how important visualization can be. And I started just continually using it over and over again. The nice thing is the visualization is also backed by a lot of research as well. I'm not going to go into all like the names of the studies. I'll post a couple of links below if you want to check it out. There's a very famous one, which is quite a few years old, to do with basketball. And this coach had a group of 90 students. And the first thing he did was test their free throws. So they all shot free throws, and then he broke them into 3 groups of 30 people. There was a group that did nothing to do with basketball. They weren't allowed to touch a basketball, think about it or anything. There was a group that practiced for 30 minutes every single day. And there was a group that just visualized throwing free throws for 30 minutes a day. And the results were pretty staggering. The people that didn't do anything to do with basketball didn't improve. The people that practiced for 30 minutes a day improved by about 24%. And the people that visualized improved by 23%. That's massive. They weren't touching a basketball, they weren't physically practicing, but by using the power of their mind and by using visualization, they got better results. Okay, and this study has been like repeated, numerous times, and visualization has been shown to work and have a really impactful, or be very impactful on performance. Okay, so just because we're doing Jiu Jitsu means we can use the same ideas as well. The basic idea that you want to do is your goal is to make whatever visualization you're doing as real as possible. So you need to start employing like all your senses, like what you hear, what you see, what you smell, what you taste, how you're feeling, the environment, and you want to keep running that through your brain. Okay, if you think about it, like what I see and what I think aren't that different. They're like one's visual stimuli going in and my brain is then processing that. But if I imagine it, It's kind of the same idea. Same with TV. If you think about it like a TV, right? I'm watching the TV as I do it, and my brain is processing all that information. That's how kind of visualization works. So it's kind of a way of tricking your body into improving without actually having to physically perform this stuff. There's two types of visualization as well that we have. We have internal and external. Internal is where you're imagining that you're physically doing something. Okay, and then external is like you're watching yourself do it on a TV. That's the best way that I can think about describing it. And internal is very, very good when you're in like a closed system. So if you're doing something like picking up a weight, where there's not a lot of like external stimuli going on, there's not a lot of variety, not a lot of unexpected things likely to happen. That's very, very good for that. External is much better for like open skills. So things where there's a lot of variety going on, there's different things that may happen. So things like basketball, football, Jiu Jitsu obviously is an open system. So if you visualize yourself rather than, you can, I mean, for sure use both of them, but the external, watching yourself do something and go through the movements has been shown to be a little bit better. And if you watch a lot of like BMX or skateboarding or diving, you'll see them use the kind of internal kinesthetics, or their movement of their body, like before they do their technique. You'll often see guys kind of like moving their head, they're flipping their bars, they'll be doing all kinds of different stuff. That's a form of visualization. They're going through their routine in their mind before they actually go and do it. The nice thing about this is you can run through hundreds and hundreds of reps very, very quickly in your mind, faster than you could do it by training. So you can get a lot of stimuli and have got a lot of like mental repetitions of a technique very, very quickly, which is great. So that can be very, very powerful if we're in competition, for example. Okay. And it's obviously, it's a little bit better if we can combine the physical with the mental as well. That has been shown to give really good results. But if the only option is mental, then we can use that. All right, now, how we go about it, there are two different types that I think about when I'm doing this. So we're going to use like the external visualization. Of course, you can use the internal one as well. But you have a pre-competition visualization that I use, and then like an in-competition visualization. And I'll tell you about the differences. So pre-competition is the time before an event, right? So let's say I'm like a day out from an event, or like a week out from an event. I will use the techniques to run through the competition in my brain over and over and over and over again. Like multiple times, running it forwards, backwards, like I'm watching it on a TV. And I will try to make that situation as real as possible. So it's great if you know the venue, or you have like, you can find pictures of the venue is a really good example. So I fought a lot at the Walter Pyramid in Long Beach. You know, it's where Worlds used to be held all the time. So I knew what it was like. I knew what it sounded like. I knew what it smelled like, all of those kind of things. So I could very clearly picture it in my mind. So before the event, I would always, what did I do in the breakfast? How did I get up? I get up, I have a specific routine I follow. What do I eat for breakfast? I get to the competition. I have like, I do a lap of the venue. I go down, I check my bracket, I check my weight, I get changed. I go through the same warm-up thing. And I'm visualizing all of this in my brain, all the way up until I get onto the mat for my first match. I do my high five, my fist bump, I get into my game, and then I see my hand being raised at the end of it. And I just keep running that forwards and backwards. And it's important that I'm not just doing it in one linear direction. Okay, I rewind it in my brain as well. So I watch it over and over again, because the more real I can make it, the better. Okay, so by the time that I go into the event, I'll have done it a ton of different times. So that anxiety about not knowing what's going to happen, I'll have a plan, and I'll be set, and I'll be ready for it. Okay, so that's pre-competition. In competition, I've talked about this before, but if you see someone that has like a really good technique, and you know they're going to try it on you, you know they're going to do it because they hit it on everybody else in the competition, you can use visualization as a way of practicing like the counter or the anticipation of that technique. So I fought a guy called Denilson Pimenta a long time ago. And Denilson's a master of the Kataguruma, the fireman's carry. Like he slams everybody with it. And this thing is like, it's a beast when he hits people with it. And I was in a bracket with him in the Pan Ams a few years ago, and I watched him just do it over and over again to people, and like it's brutal. So when I won my first match, and then I came back and I was in the bullpen, and I sat there and I just visualized what it would feel like when Danielson was trying to enter into that Kaguruma, how I would defend it, what it would feel like in my body, all of those different things. And I did it over and over again. So when it came to the match and Danielson tried to use this Kaguruma on me, I was prepared for it. I'd rep that defense out in my brain a ton of different times. Okay, I'd been there so many times. I'd seen what it was like. I'd not visually, but I'd visualize the experience of him trying to do it and me being able to defend it. And it worked. Like I was able to defend his Katagurumas and pull into my game from there. All right, so the basic way that I set up visualization, the first thing is you want to try and be relaxed. Okay, you want to get into quite a deep state. Some people call it like meditation or whatever. The way I do it is I use like a series of like contractions to release the stress from my body. So if it's pre-competition or I have the space to be able to do it, I'll lay down, I'll put my hoodie on, it'll dim all the sounds, I'll go into my little zone, and then I'll go through like contracting the various parts of my body, okay? And it will be like, let's say I start at the toes, I go toes, and I go calves, legs, hips, stomach, core, shoulders, neck, face, all of these different areas. And it'll be like, if I do my hands, for as an example, because you can see them relatively easier, I have my eyes closed, I'll be like, push, hold, release, let it go. And it's just a way of like going through the various body parts. I won't necessarily say it out loud because that would be a bit weird for the people around me. I'll just be saying it in my brain, okay, biceps, push, hold, release, let it go. And you just sink all of that tension out of your body. So I go through every single body part like that. I'll be laying down while I'm doing it. If I don't have a space to lay down, I'll just have I'll sit on the ground, I'll have my hoodie up, and I'll just be really relaxed. And I'll do the same thing, like I'll just be here. My body will be tense in various ways, my jaw, my neck, all of those different areas. It'll be the same thing going on in my brain. So you go through that cycle once, and then the next one that you use is we call it heavier and heavier still. Okay, so you go the full cycle once, then you go through the individual bodies. So like my toes, my calves, heavier and heavier still. And it's kind of like sinking you down and down and down. So you got one set, which is push, hold, release, heavier and heavier still. And then you do a countdown from 9 to 1. So we're going to go 9, 8, 7, relax. 6, 5, 4, relax. 3, 2, 1, relax. And when I hit that final stage of relaxation, it is like a meditative state. That's what we're trying to get into. And I'll just hold it there for a second and I'll just feel like, I often feel like visualize the sun kind of warming me. I visualize a happy place that I have as well. And then from that point onwards, I will start the visualization. Okay, so we've got super relaxed. I get into that visualization. It'll be like, if it's coming out to fight Danielson, for example, it'll be okay. I'm seeing him in front of me. I'm hearing what it's like to hear the coaches, the referee say paro, high five, we fist bump, get into our stance. And the other thing is, you want to make it as real as possible. Like you're trying to literally smell or taste or hear everything you can. And you want to kind of bring it into your body, the kinesthetic idea as well. So it'll be like, your hand might move, fist bump, and you're in your stance, okay, and then I'm sprawling my hip, like tensing up, going to this. And you're using that little kind of body twitches to engage and fire the different parts of your body. You keep running it through your brain again and again and again. Same if we're in I'm doing it pre-competition or in competition, it's exactly the same idea. I run it forwards, I run it backwards, I speed it up, I slow it down, and I just keep repeating that process over and over again. And I do it until I get comfortable with it. So I know when I come out into a match, I'm anticipating it, I'm expecting what's going to happen, and I'm prepared for it. And in my experience, more often than not, how I visualize things going is what tends to happen. All right, and it's a great skill. To me, that idea of visualization, the relaxation stuff, the preparing to step on the mat is the most important part of my warm-up. Okay, if I had the option between running sprints and doing the visualization stuff, it would be the visualization more than anything. I prefer to step on the mat cold, but have my mind ready, than step on the mat hot and my mind be all chaotic. Okay, so it's a really useful skill. All right, so that in a nutshell is visualization and hopefully an idea of how you can use it. As I said, I'll try and pop some stuff below this video if I can find it. It'll help you give a little bit more an in-depth view of visualization. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll talk to you guys soon.